Bad news, we've got a new Speaker of the House. Judge Scrooge strikes again, and you better quit smoking those menthol cigarettes. Stay tuned, everybody. For the best meat you have ever eaten in your life, go to samsbutchershop.com. Enter the coupon code Triple T when you check out for a 10% discount. Hello, everyone. I am trailertrashtim. How's your mom and them? We are back in the saddle. Happy Thursday to you, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for bearing with me for the last couple of days. It's been a wild time trying to get stuff uploaded. I'll tell you what happened. Marina and I were just sitting around Sunday afternoon, and I said, we could get away tomorrow after I get home from work if you're game, and take the camper and pull it off somewhere and spend a couple of nights. And to my surprise, she said, yeah, let's do it. So we did it. And I went online and I booked a couple of nights at FDR State Park over in Georgia, which is, about 150 miles or so away from home base here. And we took off as soon as I got home from work Monday. Took off about lunchtime, I guess, and checked in over there and spent a couple of nights. It was great. Highly recommend if you're ever in that area, FDR State Park. It is absolutely beautiful, and I am some kind of sore today because yesterday, this was, what's today, Thursday. This was Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. I decided to go on a hike, and it was supposed to be like a 1.5 mile hike. I think I wound up being about 5 miles because I got lost, and it was hilly and curvy, deep in the woods, where you'd never find me if I got lost. I thought they was going to have to get a rescue team and pull me out of there with a helicopter or something. Man, it wore me out. I didn't take any water with me or anything. And I finally got out of the woods and wound up on like a state highway and wound up hoofing it back to camp. I probably walked 5 miles. I don't know. And so since I got home, or since I got back, or the next morning, my legs were just throbbing. So I'm not in the best shape of my life. But anyway, it was worth it. We had fun, and if you ever get a chance to go down there, I highly recommend it. It's just a beautiful place. So thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with me. I missed you guys, man. I really did. I missed all of you, and I tried to put up some shorts and keep you in the loop. But we are back in the saddle and rip-roaring, ready to go. I got a lot to talk about, so let's get going, and let's lead with some bad news. Bad news. It's bad. It's bad. What's the bad news, Triple T? Well, we've got a Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson of Louisiana. The Republicans, with full consensus, with unanimity, elected Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House. He replaces Kevin McCarthy. Now, why is this bad news? Is he a bad guy? I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't really know that much about him. I'll tell you what I know here in just a moment, but I say it's bad news because that means Congress is back in session. That's the bad news part of it. You know what I love? I love gridlock, right? I love when nothing's happening. I love when Congress is on recess, when they're not in Washington so they can't make our lives worse by making more bad laws that we have to follow. So I was loving the chaos, man. I was loving the chaos and the gridlock and the fighting going back and forth, and we just can't elect a speaker. I don't know how many guys they put up for speaker. I know they put up, they booted McCarthy, then they put up Scalise, and then they put up Jim Jordan. He never made it. So they finally found somebody that was palatable enough, I guess, and every Republican voted for Mike Johnson. I watched his speech as he was sworn in yesterday, Wednesday, and I was impressed with his speech. I will say that because in his speech he said that his priorities are that we've got to tackle the debt, and I sat up straight when I heard that. He said we have got to cut spending. I really sat up straight when I heard that, and he said we have got to focus on our borders. So I was saluting by the time I heard that. Of course, he also pledged his devotion to Israel, which didn't impress me very much because I don't really care about Israel. As you know, I'm an American. I don't give a hoot about any other nation, not so much as mine anyway, because this is where I live, and I feel this is where our priorities should be. If I was in France, then I would want our politicians to be doing what was best for France. But, I think American politicians should be their priority should be America, not Israel, or any other nation for that matter. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I never get my hopes up for any of these people. I don't fall in love with any of them because I always get my heart broken. So anyway, but we'll see what happens. Of course, it's Mike Johnson pretty much against the world if he's talking like this, but because obviously with the loon we have in the White House, they're not going to be able to get a whole lot done because, of course, Biden has the veto pen. But we'll see what happens. All you can do in a situation like that is just do what you're supposed to do. Let Biden veto it if he must, but you just do your job. Just do what you're supposed to do, and that's really all we can ask. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. And so there you go. Mike Johnson of Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana. Looks like a nice guy. He's got the right rhetoric anyway. He's saying the right things. So we'll see. We'll keep a watch on it and see how it goes. Maybe it'll turn out to be good. I don't know. All right, let me move on. Judge Scrooge is back in the news again. Now, I talked about this last week at length. And last week, as you know, Judge Scrooge, Arthur Engeron, I wish I had his picture so I could throw darts at it. But this guy last week fined Trump $5,000 and threatened him with imprisonment. And I went on and on and on last week, as you may recall if you saw that video. If you didn't, go back and watch it, about how Trump should play the Trump card and just take it right, just throw it right back in the judge's face. Well, he's done it again. Judge Arthur Engeron. Let me recount this for you if I can. I got it here in my notes. Judge Scrooge. You got to love this guy. Far-left Judge Engeron put Trump on the witness stand after he blasted the former president and accused him of potentially violating the gag order with his remarks to the press. He also fined Trump $10,000. So last week it was $5,000. This week it's $10,000. Furthermore, radical Marxist New York Attorney General Letitia James, gotta love Letitia, she is seeking $250 million in damages when there is no victim in the fraud case against Trump, and she's also seeking to ban Trump and his sons from operating any businesses in New York. Now, bear in mind, she is seeking $250 million from Donald Trump. Why? Because of fraud. Bear in mind, there are no victims here, okay? So that's the thing. Where's the victim? You want to find him $250 million to give what, restitution to his victims or whatever? There are no victims. There is no crime. What are you finding him for, Letitia? I don't get it. But let's get back to Judge Scrooge. This time he's fined Trump $10,000 and yet again has threatened him with jail time. And let me reiterate what I said last week. This is what Trump should do. Trump should look at Judge Engeron and say, do it. Just do it. Stop threatening me with jail time. Don't just sing it. Bring it, buddy. Throw me in jail. I'm telling you, it would be the best thing you've ever seen if he would actually do what he's threatening to do and send Trump to jail. I'm telling you, it would be great for the nation, because you talk about something that would backfire, brother. That right there would backfire. And I personally would love to see it, because I would just love to see the ramifications and the repercussions that would happen in this country if this judge had the stones, which he does not, to follow through on his threat. Don't threaten somebody if you're not going to do it. Don't threaten Trump with jail time if you're really not going to do it. And as I said, he's not going to do it. He's not going to throw Trump in jail, and everybody knows it. Trump knows it, and that's why he should tell him, throw his cards on the table, throw me in jail. Think of the Secret Service logistical nightmare if they actually did something like that, and think of the ramifications and the repercussions by the devoted Trump followers, and they are legion in this nation. I'm telling you, it would be a sight to behold if this judge would actually follow through. I have zero respect for this radical left-wing Judge Engoron, because he's just threatening Trump, but his threats are hollow because everybody knows he's not going to do it. So shut your big mouth, boy. If you're not going to do it, stop threatening Trump with it, because you're just being ridiculous and you're being absurd. Let me move on to something else. How many of you that are watching me right now smoke? How many of you smoke specifically? How many of you watching me right now smoke menthol cigarettes? Anybody? I don't smoke cigarettes, but Joe Biden, my Lord in heaven, think for just a moment. Man, my legs are sore. I need some Bengay. Think for just a moment of all the crises that are going on in our country and around the world. So many of the ones that are going on around the world are things that the American government has caused. They have created these monsters, and now we've got to deal with them. You think of all the things that are happening in Ukraine that we are involved in. We shouldn't be, but we are. Think of the hot spots all around the world. Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians. All of the immigration woes in France and Germany and the UK and Canada, and here, of course, in our own nation, with our porous southern border, people pouring across our border. I detailed this the other day about how the Border and Border Control Services, the BCS, has told everyone to be on the lookout for Syrian nationals coming across the border. And they ain't coming to sell Girl Scout cookies, boys and girls. And this is a problem that could be solved in one day if we had a president who actually cared anything about his country and the people who live here. But of course, Joe Biden has bigger priorities, don't you know? It's not illegal immigration. It's not all the wars that are going on around the world. It's not the debt. It's not the corruption. It's not high taxation. No, the biggest problem facing Americans, our biggest crisis, is people who smoke menthol cigarettes. You think I'm making this up? I am not. This appeared in the Gateway Pundit. Listen to this. The Biden administration's proposed menthol cigarette ban could become a thorn in the president's side during the 24 elections. Well, I hope so. They should. The FDA initially proposed rules prohibiting menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars in April of 22 to prevent the children, don't you know, from becoming the next generation of smokers and to help adult smokers quit, they say. And it goes on and on and on. Finalizing these two product standards remains a top priority for the FDA, they said. And Trump is all over this. Yes, sirree, Bob, this is a winning issue, don't you know, to ban menthol cigarettes in the United States. Folks, let me tell you something. First of all, there's two things about this that are utterly, completely ludicrous. The first is the American government making a vice such as this a priority and seeking to pass legislation to actually ban menthol cigarettes. I remember years ago, this was back in I want to say the 90s. I might be wrong about that. I think that it was Mayor de Blasio of New York, the then mayor of New York. It was either him or Bloomberg. I think it was it was one or the other. It was Bloomberg or de Blasio, I think. Don't hold me to that. I may be wrong. But I think it was de Blasio who eliminated the big gulps. You know what a big gulp is? We've got if you're not in America, we have a convenience store over here called the 7-Eleven, and one of the products they sell is a fountain drink where you get any of your soda pop of any choice, Coke or Pepsi or orange or root beer or whatever, and you put your drink, or you did put your drink, in a huge paper cup that they labeled a big gulp. I mean, if you're super duper thirsty, you've been working hard all day out in the hot sun, and you can go into the 7-Eleven and buy yourself a big gulp. I mean, the thing looks like it's about a half gallon of capacity, you know. I mean, you could put a lot of liquid in a big gulp cup. But no, the mayor, I think it was de Blasio, said, no, that's bad because that's just too much sugar. You shouldn't be drinking that much soda pop. And so they actually, in the city of New York, they banned big gulps. Can you believe it? That's a Democrat for you. As I've said repeatedly, Democrats are the most nosy, meddlesome people on the planet. They are so concerned about what you might be doing. You might just be drinking too much soda pop. So by George, we're going to pass a law so you can't do that anymore. So what do you got to do now? I guess you just go into 7-Eleven and get 2 large cups so that you can ostensibly have a big gulp. Can you believe how absurd that is? That's what you get from a Democrat. Remember that the next time you start to pull the chain for a Democrat. If you like big gulps, no, you're out of luck. No big gulps for you, buddy, because that's what Democrats do. If they think you're having fun, well, we got to do something about that. We either got to tax it or we got to eliminate it. That's just how they roll, boys and girls. That's just how they roll. So Joe Biden, he's come up with this winning strategy to win re-election, and that is to ban menthol cigarettes. Now, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke menthol cigarettes. I know people who do smoke cigarettes. I know people who smoke menthol cigarettes. And you know what my attitude about that is? I don't give a rat's behind. You know why? Because it's none of my business. It's just none of my business. That's why I don't care. Do I think you should smoke menthol cigarettes? Well, I wouldn't want you to. If you ask my opinion, I would tell you, yeah, if you want my opinion, I think you should stop. It's probably not good for you. That's my opinion. If I had a 12-year-old daughter and I caught her smoking menthol cigarette or any cigarettes, Daddy would do something about that. She wouldn't be smoking them anymore, at least not that I'm aware of. But if a person wants to drink a big gulp, or if a person wants to have a menthol cigarette or anything else, it's none of my business. I don't care. It doesn't concern me. Why on earth would any politician take it upon themselves to make an issue out of the fact that there are Americans who smoke menthol cigarettes? I don't give a hoot. If you want to smoke menthol cigarettes, knock yourself out. I don't care. If you want to smoke 9 packs a day, that's your business. Go ahead. If you want to drink 5 big gulps in an afternoon, go ahead. Maybe I don't think you should, but you didn't ask my opinion, did you now? Would I do that? No. Would I ever have a big gulp? Yeah, I might have a big gulp. Might have 2 big gulps. I don't know. I don't really drink soda pop anymore. Since I went carnivore, I just mostly drink water and coffee, right? Hey, I could put a big gulp full of coffee. I'll take that all day long. But what you do is none of my business. If you want to smoke a menthol cigarette, knock yourself out. I don't care. It's none of my business. Why are Democrats so meddlesome? Why are they so nosy? Why are they so concerned about what you're doing, what you're drinking, what you're eating, what you're smoking, where you're going, who you're talking to, who you're voting for, what you're driving, where you live, what you live in, whether or not your car's battery operated or gas operated, where you work, and on and on and on. Why do you care? It's none of your business. And making war with people who smoke menthol cigarettes is doing nothing to make America great again, is it now? These people are they're such nosy Nellies, such busybodies. But you know what I got to say to Joe Biden? If you want to make menthol cigarettes part of your campaign to get reelected, hey, buddy, knock yourself out. Go for it. Do even more. Tell people they ought to quit eating meat. Tell people they ought to quit driving gasoline-powered vehicles. Go for it, Joe. Just make it an issue. Let us know how you really feel. We'd love to know. Because it ain't helping you, pal. Mind your own business. Is that too much to ask? If you want my opinion on what you're doing, then you can ask. Otherwise, I'll keep my nose out of your business. Don't you think that's the neighborly thing to do? God, these people, they drive me crazy. All right, now, one more thing. Let me get to an article that was written by a guy by the name, oh Lord, I think I just lost it. No, I didn't. No, I've got it right here. I wrote it down. There's a guy in America by the name of Wayne Allen Root. Wayne's a pretty good guy. He is I don't know what all he is, but I know he's a bookie. I think he lives in Las Vegas. He's a highly successful bookie. Odds maker, kind of like Jimmy the Greek Snyder was one time. Pardon me. He's also libertarian in political philosophy, which has some merit. I'm not libertarian, but I agree with a lot of. I generally agree with their attitude, but I'm not a full-fledged libertarian by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway, Wayne Allen Root early on was a proponent of, or a supporter, I guess you could say, of Robert F. Kennedy, who is also running for president, as you know, as an independent. But Wayne has changed his mind, and I'm going to tell you why he changed his mind, and he has taken back his support for Bobby Kennedy, and he's thrown his support to Trump, and this is why. He, in his article, I'm not going to read the article, but I just wrote down some highlights. He said, basically, my problem is this with Kennedy. It is that he is a Kennedy. He is in the vein of Ted. He's in the vein of George McGovern, of Jimmy Carter, and Walter Mondale, all Democrats, of course. And when you talk about people like that, when it comes to their political philosophy, you're talking about people who, generally speaking, favor high taxation, high spending, and high regulation, government regulations, to control the economy. Those are classic Democratic Party ideals. High spending, high indebtedness, high taxation, and high regulations for small businesses or large businesses, which is not at all what we need. Every time that we get that from a Democrat, we go into a funk economically speaking, as we are now, because that's just how they roll. They tax high, they spend a lot, and they try to regulate the economy. And that's turned Wayne Allen Root off insofar as RFK is concerned. But last week, I don't know if any of you caught this or not, and I've been meaning to get to this, I just hadn't yet. If you are a supporter of RFK, this may just change your mind. I could never support this guy, if only for this reason, because last week, and by the way, the thrust of his article is, well, let me get to that in just a minute. Last week, Bobby Kennedy came out, brace yourselves, in favor of reparations. Reparations. Do you know what reparations are? Reparations in America simply means that one who favors reparations favors giving taxpayer money to black people, African American people. Okay? Why? Because of slavery. This is an idea which is patently ludicrous, and I'm going to tell you why. I am 62 years old. I was born in the year 1961. Never in my life have I owned a slave. You got it? Neither did my father, for that matter. Neither did my grandfather. I don't know anybody in my ancestry who owned a slave. Now, somebody may have. I don't know. But I can only speak for myself and tell you I have never owned a slave. So if you want to get money from me to make restitution for another generation of Americans who also were never slaves, good freaking luck getting that money out of me. Because, buddy, if there's somewhere I would ever draw the line, that's it. I don't owe anybody any money in terms of reparation to pay for a crime that I never committed. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Here's a dirty little secret for you. Did you know that every single one of us, every single one of you that are listening to me right now, that somewhere back in time, going back generation after generation after generation of all of our collective ancestries, we are all descendants of slaves. Did you know that? It's true. Somewhere back along the line, it might have been hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, we are descendants of slaves somewhere. There's plenty of slaves in history that had skin like mine. There's plenty of slaves in history that had red skin or yellow skin or black skin. Slavery is not a new thing. It's been around since time immemorial, and it's still around for that matter. Thank you, by the way, Hillary Clinton. There are slaves in Libya now, thanks to what you did to Muammar Gaddafi. I have slaves in my ancestry. Somewhere back in time, there are slaves in my ancestry. You know what? I'm not looking for anybody to give me any money for it. You know why? Because nobody who's living today owned any slaves that I'm related to, that were from my tribe, if you will, or my family tree. So I'm not asking for money from anybody for that. I'm not giving you any money or any consideration for a crime I never committed, and I think it is utterly preposterous that Bobby Kennedy would come out in support of reparations. How on earth do you think this is going to help you at the polls, Bobby Kennedy? Have you lost your ever-loving, cotton-picking mind? Now, Wayne Root writes in his article that he believes this issue, and this issue alone, is going to drive potential Kennedy voters into the box to vote for Trump. Now, I don't know if that is true or not. I don't see enough evidence of that being true, but he believes that it will drive them from Kennedy, not to Biden, but to Trump. I've heard other commentators say that Kennedy pulls votes away from Trump and gives them to Biden. I'm not so sure about that, especially now if he's going to make reparations an issue, because if he makes it an issue, that means that Biden is probably going to have to give it some lip service at least. And that's where I see his point. Trump's obviously not going to support anything like that, because Trump's smart enough to know it's a dog of an issue. It would only make him lose votes, because there's enough Americans who have enough brain matter left to know that this is utterly preposterous. It's ridiculous. You're not going to get money from the American people for reparations to give to people who were never slaves in the first place. I mean, if you really want to follow through with this, that's when I'm going to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. I don't know when they were slaves, but I've got slaves in my ancestry as well, so where's my money? It is a losing issue all the way around. I don't see it ever happening in this country, and I'm perplexed and stunned that Kennedy would attach himself to such a losing issue as reparations, but apparently that's what he's done. I don't know who's advising him, but that's some bad advice if you ask me. And maybe Wayne Allen Root is right. Maybe it will drive votes to Trump, especially if Joe Biden says, oh, yeah, me too, I want reparations too. That ain't going to go well. Not even among a lot of Democrats, what we used to call in the South the old yellow dog Democrats who weren't complete and utter lunatics. Those are Democrats who voted for Ronald Reagan, for example. So, yeah, that I can see where that would drive votes to Trump. Anyway, that's what's going on today. I'm glad to be back in the saddle. I'm glad to have you with me. Give me your comments down below. I really would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Hey, listen, give me a thumbs up on the video down below. I would really appreciate that. Hit that old like button if you have not yet subscribed to the Triple T channel. As long as you are not an illegal alien, and as long as you do not wear a face mask, you are more than welcome to subscribe to the channel down below. That's right, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. You haven't subscribed, have you? We'll do it right now. No. Leave Ethel alone. You can talk to her later. Right now, hit that subscribe button down below. That's right. That's good. Now you've done the right thing. Now you can go do whatever Ethel wants you to do. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Great to be back. Glad to see you again. I really am. I missed all of you a lot. I'll see you tomorrow.